Hey people, what's up? Punch here. So I'm going back to Sulfur because they added a new update recently called the Shav'Wa Showdown update. And the reason why I want to talk about this one rather than the last one is because the last one was mostly quality of life improvements and some other fixes they want to do to Sulfur. This one, however, is a new area, new sub area, new boss, a new feature which is called gun insurance, and 10 Steam achievements added to it, on top of new enchantments and recipe cookbooks added to town, sewers, dungeon, castle, forest, and fortress. This is all of them. And what I've seen so far from the recipe book is that essentially it's like this book you buy for 15 grand, I think from either Ralphie or Stiffleg. And the reason why I say it's 15,000 is because I've seen it once. And when you get it, it gives you 126 different variety recipes to be able to cook. Meaning that if you unlock it, all of those recipes are known, you just need the ingredients to make it. So that's how it would work. The new area is called the Fortress, as you see here. You first go on the Shabua Bridge, and then go to the Fortress. After that, you go to the Bathhouse, which is essentially a cave that has a bunch of different pools everywhere, and some water, and then you have these different enemies, but I'll talk about that here in a minute. The new boss is called the Shabua Emperor. He has two different phases, which I'll show later. And then the gun insurance, you attach it to your weapon like you do any type of attachment or scroll. And if you die, the gun will actually stay on your person when you go back to the hub instead of being, dropped and going back to the ether, whichever. The new scrolls or new enchantments, they have Scroll of Corpse Explosion, Scroll of Petrify, Scroll of Thunderbolt, and Scroll of Least Resistance. And I do apologize if it sounds kind of weird with my talk right now. I had a tooth removed about a couple of days ago, and they took about 30 minutes to jam a screwdriver, they call an exfoliator, out of my jaw, or into my jaw, so that they could pull a tooth out. So I do apologize if I sound kind of weird. On a side note, the only way to unlock this area is to defeat Terrorbaum in the forest area. And once you beat him, then you go straight to the bridge, and then after the bridge, you go to Shabua Fortress, and then after Shabua Fortress, you go to the Bathhouse, which I think is either 3 or 4 in terms of the level of the actual fortress itself. Another thing is that the cooking area looks a lot different since it's actually better or more advanced compared to the normal campfire cauldron that you see in the forest or some of the other areas. And then they have these high towers you can go to. You can shoot those lanterns to light them on fire. And then let's go ahead and talk about the enemies you fight. They look like frogs or kind of like half frog, half humanoid. There's a couple of different ones. For example, this annoying ass, which essentially is like a ninja. He throws kunai at you that explode, and then he runs really fast. Then there's these little jumping frogs that come at you, which basically take 2 shots of a fusely to kill. And then you have another one, which is essentially these kind of like frogs that hide themselves like the sentinels in the forest, or where they take no damage. The only way to kill them is by shooting them when they open up their cloak, or if you're able to see their face. And sometimes if you do see their face and you have the dolphin and you shoot them, they instantly go down by a 50 caliber BMG. But then it has these other guys, which is these frogs that are kind of like naked, and they have these towels around them. So I wasn't sure what they do exactly until I let one go near me. Essentially what they do is they turn around and they shake their ass at you, and it puts you in a trance to where there's hearts everywhere, and you can't attack them unless you turn away. Highly recommend throwing grenades or making sure they're the first ones to go, because it's really tough to run away when you have a horde of enemies coming after you when some frog guy is shaking his ass in your face. Really difficult. But then you have these other areas too, like small corridors. You have a lot of high up areas you can go to that have decent boxes and even more stuff you could pick up, like matcha, rice, water. They have ramen, they have onigiri, and some other different types of foods too from this area. I don't know what those recipes exactly are to make that, but hopefully I could find out later on when I start to play it more. That being said, I do want to show the guys off I was talking about. These are actually the ones that have the towels around them. If they go near you, especially if they get close enough, they will put their ass in your face, and you'll be like, ooh, and then you won't be able to attack them or go after any of their friends. So, like I said, they're primary number 1. The other guys are a little bit easier to deal with. You have the normal ninjas, you have the big elite ones that explode, and then you have some that actually teleport if you shoot them. But that's all I see when it comes down to the elites in this specific area. They do teleportation, they have lava, or they have corrosion. This is the new vendor that actually they put in the game called Kiosk, which is spelled with a Q. As far as I'm aware, I think she sells a lot of food, kind of like small amounts compared to Grossberg, which would give you a crap ton of food and even have a cooking station near him. But I'm guessing there's lore behind that to where it's like she's got issues with the Emperor and that he's making it tough for people to sell stuff. I'm not sure. But I do a little bit of dialogue and strike up a conversation with her about different things. And then she talks about this thing called the Ring, which essentially is like a gladiatorial arena to where everybody fights each other for like a death type of sport. And then, everybody cheers, yay, hey, this is my favorite, person to go and fight, and some other things. And they were going to throw her in there if she didn't stay there to do whatever vending stuff that she was going to do. So a little bit more dialogue pops up. You call her scrawny, and then she calls you a piggy and says that if you don't stop your bullshit, she's going to get a hold of her supervisor, and then you're more in trouble. But, it's kind of a decent conversation to have with the new NPCs when it's added to Sulfur, like I had with the one guy, which was a mushroom in the forest. And then you had Grossberg, you have Stiffleg, you have Ralphie, you have the Gravedigger, and then I think there are some other ones too I don't really remember off the top of my head. But she does sell a couple of things, and she does have some chicken wings or hot chicken that you can get for like 15 or 30 each. Moving on, I wanted to show off a little bit of the Pool Bathhouse, which is essentially this like building you go up into, and then it goes down into a cave entrance that leads into some pools, steam, and more water. If you do decide to go into the water where the steam is, it doesn't do over the time damage or hurt you at all if you stay in for too long, though I do recommend using the oxygen tank if you're going underwater to check up stuff like new treasures or even something else you could find down there. This is actually what it looks like in the cave. They do have a cooking station, they do have boxes and barrels you could break which give you stick or anything random that you would normally find, and then they have some items you could pick up too. Now let's go ahead and talk about the boss real quick. This is the Emperor, or the Most Holy Emperor, and he's got two phases. The first is essentially a centipede to where he jumps up, down, up, down, up, and down. And he'll keep doing that for a while until you blow him up. The only way to destroy him is by shooting his tail, which has a giant bullseye on the back of it. Once you blow that up or shoot it enough, one part of him falls off. And I've seen it in other games too. I don't really remember at the top of my head what they were, but shooting him in the face doesn't do anything. It's the back target you had to go for. Now for my playthrough, I did the Fusely and I did the 50 caliber Dolphin, and those were the two guns I used to deal with them, with the flock inside my inventory in case I needed it. That gun would have probably been a lot easier because it spreads. You could also use the Typhoon, or maybe even the LMG for Axis. F-22 I'm going to be showing a little bit later, since that was the previous update before this one. Still, when it comes down to his first phase, he will jump around and he'll keep doing it until you beat him. He'll get faster and faster and faster the smaller he becomes, so it's a much more difficult endeavor when using bolt-action rifles like the Dolphin, or trying to do 6 shots with the Fusely using a scope, which I'd probably recommend would be better using iron sights instead of scopes, mainly to be able to aim faster rather than having a bunch of stuff obscure your vision and not being able to see where he goes. This, after you beat him, will be a second phase. Instead of, going away forever, he goes through this dialogue after he puts you into a pit, and then he talks about it's not over yet. And then he transforms from a weird centipede into a gigantic spider that fires missiles at you. And this is the second phase of the actual boss. He does fire these missiles and they're corkscrewing at you. Sometimes they'll hit the pillars that are right next to you and they'll fall and they can crush you, do a lot more damage, and they're basically just going all over the place. At the end, when you do beat him, he sends out a couple of units to come after you, and they're not too much to deal with. He'll take like maybe about 5 or 10 seconds before he'll completely explode, and then he'll break a wall on the side so that you can get out and go back to the church. When it came down to the first phase, it was harder to deal with because I really couldn't aim at him with a scope rifle and being able to hit the target since it was pretty fast. However, with him being a spider and then coming at me in a small corridor or hallway, since we're basically in a small cave, it's a lot easier to kill him using the Fusely, the Dolphin, and even the Flock if I need to. You could use other guns like I said, but these are what I'm doing for my specific playthrough, and having 7.62 ammunition also does help with dealing with a lot of the damages on the harder enemies. Like I said, those 2 small frogs that jump at you, they do a crap ton of damage when they actually hit, and it takes 2 shots to put them down. Him, when he blows up, he turns into a skeleton, got a bunch of meat inside of him, and when you go into the cave, you'll have the 3 items that you normally would get from beating a boss. two scrolls that I got, and I think it was the Pale Horse Top Clipper as a gun reward. The other two scrolls I got were like Light and Dark or Light and Surge, and I never really went to go and mess with them or fuse them when talking to the oil seller. And right before the video ends, this is the Neuraxis F22, not Firaxis, it's the Neuraxis. And this thing is a LMG that fires energy cells. This thing takes 50 seconds, or just about 50 seconds, of a complete reload from empty to full, which takes forever. So I highly recommend that if you're going to use this thing, it's going to be a last resort or a last-ditch effort to defeat a boss or enemy raid or a bunch of hordes coming after you in a single go. But it is very fast when you shoot it. It's just hold down the button and let it go like any minigun or light machine gun. There were a couple of changes they did as well for improvements. The scopes now pierce the fog a little bit more. The sentinels no longer wiggle and jump when they're frozen. And they also did something for the Star and Witness, which is the dual-wielding pistols. They don't have the glitch anymore that doesn't reload if there's no more bullets inside them. Falling items now get deleted properly. Silencers now reduce aggro chance instead of instantly alerting enemies. Grenades won't cause full map aggro anymore. If you're knocked out of bounds in boss fights, you'll now properly respawn inside the arena. Bouncing bullets now bounce slightly randomly. Item spawns have been toned down to avoid loot falling into the abyss. Salt plus fish now makes salted fish. And Shapeshifter mutation now includes all Craw, Black Gill, and Shabua variants. But that's all I got so far with the improvements and fixes, and I've been One Nut Punch once again. This has been the Shav'Wa Showdown update. Thanks for watching as per usual, and I'll see you in the next one.